I once watched a candle take $37 from me in 12 seconds, and I felt my face get hot like someone had just laughed at me in public. It wasn't even a big loss. It was the way it happened, the way price tagged my level, filled me, and snapped back like it never wanted me there. Right then, my brain didn't register risk. It registered insult. And if that sounds dramatic, good, because that's the real problem. Losses don't just feel like minus money, they feel like a personal attack. And until you understand why, you'll keep fighting the chart like it owes you respect. By the end of this, you'll know exactly what your mind is trying to protect every time you get stopped out, why your body reacts like it's under threat, and how to trade in a way that makes losses boring again. The enemy isn't the market. It's the part of you that needs the market to agree with you. Here's the mechanism, in plain language. A trade is never just a trade to your nervous system. It's a prediction. It's a little public statement you make to yourself. I see it. I know. I'm right. The moment you click buy or sell, your brain attaches identity to an outcome, not because you're weak, but because you're human. Humans hate being wrong in front of themselves. So when price goes against you, your mind doesn't read it as information. It reads it as rejection. That's why a stop loss can sting more than it should. It's not the money, it's the message you think it sends. I was wrong. I missed it. I don't belong here. Markets punish patterns, not intentions. You can have the best plan in the world with the purest I only want to do this right energy, and the market doesn't care. It doesn't know your effort. It only reacts to order flow. So when you bring your ego to a place that can't validate it, the clash feels violent. That's why people revenge trade. That's why they move stops. That's why they skip the next perfect entry because the last one betrayed them. It's not logic. It's a threatened identity trying to regain control. I lived in that loop for years. My strategy wasn't terrible. My charts were clean. My risk was written down. I'd even have weeks where I looked like I finally got it. Then a random Tuesday would show up and humble me like it had a mission. One stop loss, then another. Then that familiar heat in my chest. Fingers moving faster than my brain. I'd take a low-quality setup just to feel active again. I'd double the size because this one has to work. I'd widen the stop because it's just a sweep. I'd turn a planned -1R into -3R because I couldn't tolerate the idea of being wrong twice. And every time, the pain wasn't the red number. It was the feeling of being challenged, like the market was saying, you don't get to be the person you think you are. Scenario 1 is the classic. You take a clean setup, you follow the plan, you get stopped out, you tell yourself you're fine, but your jaw is tight, your shoulders are up, your breathing is shallow, like you're holding it without noticing. The chart looks louder. Every tick feels like a comment. You scroll down to a lower time frame. You start seeing opportunities everywhere. You start negotiating with your rules. Just one more trade to get it back. Just one more to prove it wasn't you. You take the next signal early. It goes a little against you. Your hand hovers over the close button. You don't close. You add. Your heart rate climbs. You can feel your pulse in your fingertips. Then you get that snap. The candle you wanted finally comes. You feel relief for half a second until it fades and price chops again. You're no longer trading the market. You're trading your mood. Revenge isn't anger. It's desperation for emotional balance. And the market loves to charge you interest for that. Scenario 2 is sneakier. You're on a win streak. 3 green days. 4. Maybe a full week where everything you touch seems to work. You wake up and the chart feels friendly. Your confidence is up. Your mind starts talking in a different tone. See? I'm back. I'm finally consistent. Then a weird thing happens. You start sabotaging. You take a trade you would normally pass because you're bored. You increase size because your last winners made you feel invincible. Or you hesitate because now you're afraid to break the streak. You watch a perfect setup form and you don't take it. Your stomach tightens. It feels like pressure. Like if you take it and it loses, you'll ruin the story you've been telling yourself all week. So you skip it. Then it runs without you. Now you're angry at yourself, not because you missed money, but because you missed proof. You missed the confirmation that you're that trader now. So you chase the next one. You enter late. Your stop is tight because you don't want to be wrong. You get tagged out, and suddenly the streak is gone anyway. Success can feel like a trap because it raises the stakes of your identity. Scenario 3 is the one nobody admits. You know the right action. It's written down. You've practiced it. You've watched it play out 100 times. But in real time, your body freezes. Price comes into your level. Your mouse is still. Your mind floods with images of the last loss. You can almost feel the sting before it happens. You hesitate by 3 seconds. The entry is gone. The trade moves without you. Now you feel stupid, so you jump in late to not miss it. Your stop ends up in the wrong place. You're tense, staring at every tick, and you cut the winner early because you can't handle being up and then watching it pull back. Or you move the stop to break even too soon because you want the trade to stop being dangerous. You didn't make a trading decision. You made a pain avoidance decision. This is what people miss. The mind is not designed to optimize expectancy. It's designed to avoid shame. That's where identity protection comes in. You have an old self that survived by being right, being quick, being the one who knows. Maybe in school you got praised for answers. Maybe in life you learned that mistakes are expensive. So you built an identity around competence. Trading threatens that identity constantly because trading is a game where being wrong is normal. Being wrong is part of the edge. Being wrong is rent. But the old self doesn't care about edge. It cares about image. So when a trade loses, it feels like the old self is being attacked, and the old self fights back with the tools it knows: control, speed, certainty. That's why you start forcing trades. That's why you start needing the market to behave. It's not about money, it's about who you are allowed to be. The second layer is dopamine and uncertainty fatigue. Every trade is a little slot machine for the brain, not because you're a gambler, but because your body responds to variable outcomes. The same reason you can scroll a feed for an hour without noticing time. Wins hit you with dopamine. Losses hit you with cortisol. Choppy days hit you with something worse: the slow grind of uncertainty. Uncertainty fatigue is when your decision quality drops, not because you're stupid, but because you've been carrying maybe for too long. Maybe it breaks out. Maybe it fails. Maybe the news spikes. Maybe it wicks my stop again. After enough maybes, your brain starts begging for relief. It wants a clean answer. It wants closure. So it manufactures it. You take trades you shouldn't because at least it feels like a decision. You close trades too early because at least it feels like certainty. You hold losers because closing would finalize the story. I was wrong. This is why big targets, long holds, and streaks can mess with you. They stretch uncertainty over time. They drain you. And drained people don't execute well. The market doesn't hurt you. It reveals you. That line annoyed me the first time I heard it, because I wanted the market to be the villain. It felt better that way. Then I had a turning point that I still remember like a slap. I had just taken a clean setup and got stopped out. Nothing special. It was within plan. Then I took a second trade immediately, not in plan, and I lost again. My day was red, and my chest felt tight. I was about to take a third trade when I paused and opened my journal, mostly out of frustration. I wrote one sentence without thinking: I need this next trade to forgive me. I stared at that line. Forgive me. That's when it clicked. I wasn't trying to make money. I was trying to repair my self-image. A mentor once asked me a question that came back in that moment. When you lose, what exactly are you protecting? Not your account, your identity. So I made one concrete change, one constraint, and it changed everything. I stopped judging myself by P&L for the day and started judging myself by rule break rate. A loss that followed the plan became a win for my identity. A win that broke the plan became a loss for my identity. That sounds small. It's not. It rewires what your brain chases, because if your brain is chasing approval, you'll try to buy it from the market, and the market doesn't sell it. So I built a system where approval came from execution. Before every trade, I had a tiny ritual, not a motivational speech, a friction point. I would say out loud, if this stops out, I will do nothing for 5 minutes. Then I would look at one question on my screen. Am I taking this to express my edge or to erase a feeling? If the answer was feeling, no trade. That one question saved me more money than any indicator ever did. I also set a damage constraint that I hated at first. A hard stop for the day after 2 rule-following losses, or 1 rule-breaking loss. 2 clean hits, and I was done. Not because I was broken, but because my nervous system was now compromised. I wasn't the same trader after a sting. I needed to admit that. And what changed afterward wasn't that I stopped losing. I still lost. Plenty. What changed was the sensation. Losses started feeling like paper cuts, not punches, because I stopped asking them to mean something about me. Here's a simple logic example that makes this real. Say you risk $100 per trade. Your strategy wins 45% of the time. When you win, you make $200. When you lose $100. Over 20 trades, you'd expect about 9 winners and 11 losers. 9 winners at 200 is $1,800. 11 losers at 100 is $1,100. That's plus $700 in expectancy, even with more losing trades than winning trades. But that math assumes you execute perfectly. Now add the execution cost. One revenge trade where you double risk and lose 200. One time you move a stop and turn a minus 100 into minus 300. One time you cut a winner early and only make 100 instead of 2. Suddenly your 9 winners aren't 9 full winners and your 11 losers aren't contained. That's how a good strategy dies. Not from logic, from emotion. Markets punish patterns, not intentions. The pattern is you trying to dodge discomfort. So let's make losses stop feeling personal, starting today, with something you can actually do. You need a way to separate your worth from the outcome in real time, not in a calm retrospective. For a long time, I thought I needed thicker skin. I'd tell myself, be a professional. I'd try to stare at the red number like it was a spreadsheet, but the body doesn't listen to speeches. It listens to meaning. A loss feels like a personal attack because your brain treats it like a status threat. It's the same wiring that makes a sarcastic comment ruin your mood for hours. You're not reacting to price. You're reacting to what price implies about you. That's why 2 traders can take the same stop and have completely different days. One shrugs and waits for the next setup. The other spirals and ends up taking 8 trades in 40 minutes, hunting for relief. I was the second guy more times than I want to admit. My worst days weren't the days I lost money. They were the days I felt embarrassed, even if nobody saw it, especially because nobody saw it. There's a private shame in clicking the same mistake again, knowing you're doing it, and doing it anyway. I remember a day where I made back a loss 3 different times and still ended red, not because the market was cruel, but because I kept reopening the wound. I couldn't let the last trade be a loser. I needed the final screenshot to look like I won. That's the part people don't say out loud. We don't just want profit, we want a narrative. And narratives are expensive in the market. The turning point didn't make me fearless. It made me honest. I started treating my emotions like a weather report, not a command. Anger meant I was attached. Euphoria meant I was exposed. Tight chest meant I was about to force something. A calm stomach meant I was actually seeing. Once I could read that, I could start making adult decisions instead of reflex decisions. Because the truth is, a stop loss is just a door closing. It's not an insult. It's the market saying, not this way. If you take it personally, you start arguing with the door. You push, you kick, you try to pry it open with bigger size, and you forget there are other doors. Uncertainty fatigue makes it worse, because it turns every small delay into torture. You set a target that's 2 hours away, and the trade hovers in profit but won't get there. 10 minutes feels like an hour. You start bargaining with the chart. You start imagining it reversing. You start seeing ghosts in every wick. So you take profit early, not because your plan said so, but because your nervous system needed the discomfort to end. Then you watch price hit your original target without you. That moment is gasoline for the personal attack story. It feels like the market waited for you to leave before it did what you were right about. But it didn't wait. You left because you were tired of uncertainty. That's not a character flaw. It's a training gap. And you don't fix it by wanting it more. You fix it by designing for reality. Here's the journaling prompt I want you to write, exactly like this, before you trade. When I get stopped out today, the story my mind will try to tell is, chu ast. Fill the blank. Be honest. It might be, I'm not cut out for this, or I always mess it up, or I knew it and still failed. When you name the story, it loses power, because now it's a thought, not a fact. Then, right before you enter any trade, you adopt one pre-trade habit that takes 10 seconds. You check 3 things with your eyes, not your hope. Your entry level is where you planned it. Your stop is in the place that invalidates the idea, not the place that feels comfortable. Your size matches the risk you decided when you were calm. If any one of those 3 is off, you don't fix it on the fly. You cancel it. You're not building a hero story. You're building a repeatable process. After the trade closes, win or lose, you do a post-trade review that is brutally simple. You give yourself an emotional score from 1 to 10, and you write 1 sentence. The moment I felt most tempted to break my rules was when takchi. That 1 sentence trains your pattern recognition. You're not trying to become emotionless. You're trying to become aware sooner. Track your rule break rate like it's your real win rate. Because it is. If you took 20 trades this week and broke rules on 6 of them, that's a 30% rule break rate. That number is the leak, not your indicator, not your broker, not the market. Then comes the constraint that changes your nervous system, a cooling off rule after a stop out. 5 minutes with no charts, no scrolling, no just checking. Stand up, drink water, look at anything that isn't candles. Let your body come down. Because the moment right after a loss is when it feels personal. That's when you want to answer the market back. You're not a boxer. Don't throw punches. This is the sticky truth. Your account doesn't blow up from one bad trade. It blows up from the story you tell yourself after one bad trade. And here's the second one. Discipline is not willpower. Discipline is a system that removes you from your own worst moment. Most people avoid this because it's uncomfortable to admit they're trading their identity. It's uncomfortable to realize the market isn't bullying you. You're interpreting randomness like a judgment. Losses feel personal when your self-worth is on the same line as your stop loss, so you have to move your self-worth somewhere else. Put it on execution. Put it on honesty. Put it on whether you did what you said you would do. When you do that, you start to notice something almost funny. The market can do whatever it wants, and you don't flinch as much. You still care, but it's clean care. It's not desperation. You stop begging candles to behave, and you start respecting the one thing you can actually control, you. So here's your challenge. For the next 30 trades, you are not allowed to judge yourself by profit. You judge yourself by one metric. Did I follow my rules, yes or no? You keep a simple count, clean or not clean. If you have 2 clean losses in a row, you step away for the day, not as punishment, as protection. If you have a clean win, you don't celebrate by getting louder. You stay the same size. You keep the same pace. You don't feed the streak story. If you feel that heat after a loss, you don't act on it. You name it. You let it pass. You come back when your hands are steady again. Do that for 30 trades and watch what changes. Your P&L might improve, but that's not even the point. The point is, you become the kind of trader who doesn't take losses as insults. You become the kind of trader who can be wrong without collapsing, because the real flex in trading isn't being right. It's staying you, even when the market says no.